And I would like to give some general information on robotics before I start with the other lecture. So here, what is the definition? And you remember most of this material has been taken from the previous book that I mentioned. So, what is this definition? In this is a a robota meaning slave labor, and according to this in Robot Institute of America, this is a reprogrammable, multifunctional manipulator designed to move material, parts, tools, or specialized devices through various program motion for the performance of a variety of tasks. See, this definition has been given in 1969, it's way back. And after that, especially with the advent of computers, a lot of advancement has happened and has been happening in the robotics. And now people are very much obsessed with the humanoids now. So whenever someone say that robo now, they just think about humanoid. But initially, robo started for doing work for this industrial needs. And so application of these are numerous, and initially started with industrial robots. So industrial best example is if you take any manufacturing industry or the assembly unit. One such my personal example is when I was working for a General Motors. So I worked for a technical center, but once I visited, manufacturing facility, assembly unit in the Gujarat. So it's a fully automated. It's a very excellent facility there. So I had opportunity of visiting that personally. So you can type in YouTube asking for General Motors assembly units, how robots are used. Even Tesla also, there is a documentary on Tesla showing that. So you can look into that. And a hazardous environment, even again in industrial robots, so many times you need to perform the vertical welding, and you need to perform some jobs at the very higher level. When this Fukushima disaster happened, nuclear disaster happened, they extensively used these robots to clean the nuclear waste there. And they use so many robots to go there and shut the plant also. So that is one such example. And autonomous mobile robots and vehicles. So this is the best example for that. What is this one? This is the Curiosity sent by NASA to Mars to explore its environment and as well as the soil composition. And we know Mars is very far away from Earth, and it's very difficult to communicate, periodically to this robot to perform its functions. In that case, this is a very hostile environment, also unpredictable environment. We don't know what really happens there, and the communication, deep space communication, is very not so easy also. So in that case, we need to make this robot to take its decision on its own, and it should act on its own. So in that case, this is a autonomous mobile robot. And the beauty of this Curiosity is it's having a whole set of lab that can analyze its atmosphere composition, and it can dig out some of the soils and the rocks. It will analyze these compositions and everything there itself, and it will transmit the data to Indian center. Sorry, centers on the earth. So, and then medical field. Even in medical field, we have very nano robots there. So, what is the significance of these nano robots? Especially, they are very much useful in the cancer treatment. Why? Because they can target only the affected cells. In cancer, what happens if you send the X-rays and all for the treatment of cancer? It's apart from or along with the killing the affected cells, it also affects the nearby cells. But whereas by using these nano robots and all, you can reach the affected cell and effectively can kill those. And in medical field also, while doing so many surgeries these days has been conducted by this robotic arms only. Why? Because it's a precision. And now these robots are entering social life also. So remember people, in future you can get a robo girlfriend and a robo boyfriend also. Who knows? So again, this is mentioned in the our syllabus also, robot classification. So how to classify these robots? So there are different classification, and the first one such classification is fixed or the flexible. So what is the fixed classification? Fixed one. In most of the time, especially in the world industrial robots, they are fixed one. So if you visit any car assembling plant, these robots are always standing at one point. They are not moving, here and there. They are standing at one point, and they just perform these, job whatever assigned to that. And there is a conveyor belt, and there would be some time fixed for each robot. Within that stipulated time, it will complete its job, and automatically that will move to the other robot, which is standing beside that. So here it's a fixed one; it's not moving, and here it's not flexible. This is a mobile. So what is a mobile robot here? This will move on the factory floors. So best example is these days Flipkart tied with the some startup company. It's very fascinating to know about that company. That's Orange Robots. They started Delhi based. So they tied up with the Flipkart, and it moves on the floor of this Flipkart, and it will automatically segregate and segregate the all goods, and we have a serial and parallel manipulator. This classification is very much important here. So this is the famous robot that we generally use in our industries. So here this is one link, this is a base one, and this is one link, and here this is the other link here. So the end effector is here, this is our end effector, and this is our bear, and the end effector is connected by using only one arm here. We have only one arm here. This is robotic arm. This entire thing is called as a robotic arm. So this is a serial one. In that case, we call it as a serial one. But whereas in the parallel robot, this is our end effector. This is the top platform. This is the bottom platform, the black one, which is fixed to the base. And here in between we have so many links or the arms. So if the end effector is connected more than one robotic arm, then it's called as a parallel robot. So we will see the serial and as well as a parallel. And one more thing is rigid or flexible. So rigid means the general one. So these are rigid. These joints, these links won't bend so easily. So generally these type of robots used in the industry. So that these are very heavy and of course rigid. But in some cases we need lighter weight and which can move or which can bend sometimes, which can bend sometimes. So one such best example where we can use such type of robots is the space shuttle arm. So you can see the space shuttle arm, or you can recollect our Gravity movie. So in the Gravity movie, what happens? This hero goes out and goes out with a this robotic car. For example, in this Kara robot, we have a 4 degrees of freedom, and to reach any point, we need translation along these 3 coordinate system. But whereas we have the same 4 degrees of freedom robot in some other case, but instead of translating, it has a 3 rotation and only 1 translation. So in that case, we may not reach that particular point here. So here we need to know the degrees of freedom of, first of all, we need to know the degrees of freedom of each robot, and within that we need to know the type of degrees of freedom again for that robot. Why? Because here 4 means it is a combination, and within that combination we need to know what is that particular combination here. So based on these degrees of freedom, we can segregate these robots again. For example, this is a 2 degrees of freedom robot, this is a 3 degrees of freedom robot, 4 degrees of freedom. Again, this is a 2 degrees of serial robot, this is a 2 degrees of parallel robot, or something like that. And for arbitrary task in 3D, you need 6 degrees of freedom robot. Why? Because it should go in any direction that we wanted. And for generally painting and welding, we use 5 degrees of freedom. And electronic assembly, that is a 4 degrees of freedom. And as I mentioned, SCARA is very famous here. And based on the control also, the classification can be done. So what is the control here? In the olden days, we have a teach and playback control. So in this case, it cannot adapt to the environment. It cannot learn from the changes in the environment. So every time we need to go and teach that. The teach means we need to manually give, go to this position, after that you go to this position or something like that. And after that, with the advent of computers, we can program from the server. So this particular robot is connected to the server, so that whenever the particular task has been completed, then you can again reprogram that to go in the some other orientation. So that is a computer control. And in some cases we have a sensor driven. So we have seen that Curiosity, it is having so many sensors. So by using this sensor, it will see, is there any obstacle in my way, or is there anything coming nearer to me. So it will sense that, and based on those information and the feedback, it will take appropriate decisions there, or it will avoid that clash. And then intelligent. So now intelligent means the AI will come into play. So artificial intelligence. So we are trying to make this robo, capable of self-learning from this environment and the constant changes that is happening. So it's like a human, like us, it's a learning from its experiences. So that is what intelligent robo here. And in the intelligent robo, what is the control? It will take automatic decisions there based on its intelligence. And that is the brief classification. And before I end the lecture, well, again we will see what are the basic terminology that we use throughout this subject. So first one is a links. We have already seen what is the base here that is connected to the ground, and end effector is the end one, which actually holding the tool. And the joints, we have different types of joints, and in the most of the cases we will see rotatory joint and sliding joint, that means prismatic, or either prismatic or the cylindrical sliding. And then we will see the universal joint. What is the universal joint? That is the rotations, perpendicular rotation pinned at this point. This is rotating, this is rotating, this is rotating. If I pin these two perpendicular to each other rotations, then that is the universal joint. That means I can treat this as a one rotation, and I can treat this as another rotation, which are grouped together. And we have one more spherical joint. And again, spherical joint, we have three rotation glued together perpendicular to each other. So that means this universal and as well as spherical joints can be treated as a rotational joints individually. And after that, DH parameters, we will see what is DH parameters. Actuators, we understood what is the actuator here. Actuator is the act which is activating the joints at the junction. And we have seen this serial, parallel, and the transformation matrix.